Hello everybody and welcome back to Beyond the Veil Tarot and Astrology. My name is Candice Murray and I am coming to you live on YouTube. Today is April 7th, 2021. Happy to be back, have a chat with you guys a little bit about the transits this week and leading up to our new moon in Aries on the 11th. So hi everybody in internet land. I'll give you guys a couple minutes to kind of get active in the chat and let a couple other people show up. Hello everybody. Hi, I see you guys. Thank you for coming and for coming back. I think this is like what, the second or the third live stream that we've done. So kind of getting into a good flow of things now. How's everybody doing? I missed you guys too. It's nice to see everybody. How has the last week of astro weather been for everyone? We have a ton of planets that are in Aries. I think it's kind of, to some extent, a bit of a relief coming out of Pisces season. And I think things are only going to get better post this new moon. Hi, hello. I'm trying to stay consistent. Thank you guys for your support. It's not easy, but yeah, trying to make that a part of my, I guess, my new moon intentions. So today is April 7th, and I don't know if you guys felt it earlier today, right when the moon moved into Pisces, but now we are coming into kind of like the darker, kind of grumpier, like lunar cycle right now. It'll be like this for a couple of days until the moon ingresses into Aries. And certainly when we feel planets shift from Pisces to Aries, it's like, I don't know about you guys, but I can definitely feel when that shift happens. Thank you. It's like your weather channel, right? It's your weekly astro weather. But yeah, so the moon's in Pisces right now, and it's going to be like that for a couple days. And I think it's definitely going to get probably a little funky and a little uncomfortable right when the moon starts making its conjunction with Neptune, which in a lot of ways isn't necessarily a bad thing. That's going to be happening actually tomorrow in the later evening hours. But the moon Neptune is going to be better used for meditation, spiritual work, working with water. Some people like to kick back, watch a movie, unwind when the moon is conjunct Neptune, especially in Pisces. It can be really great for like sound baths and meditation and taking baths or going swimming. But it's not really just so much the conjunction of the moon and Neptune that I'm looking at. It's that uncomfortable angle that it's going to make when it squares off with Mars. Now, we talked about this a little bit last week, how Mars rubbing up in an uncomfortable angle with Neptune can lead to some situations where people are delusional or they're a little passive aggressive, or perhaps maybe not really seeing things so clearly. So that's one thing that I want you guys to just be aware of, is there might be a little bit of deja vu that you're having tomorrow in the PM hours. Thankfully, it's going to happen late enough that we might kind of catch a break and get away with it, at least on the West Coast. Obviously, I have followers and clients all over the world, but we're really going to start to see this conjunction building, yeah, pretty late here on the West Coast, really early in the morning. But if you're in other places, just kind of a heads up, that kind of daytime, especially if you're on the other half of the planet, there can just be some confusion and just, yeah, rubbing people the wrong way with the square to Mars. But I think it's going to be really cool that it's happening later here. And many of us might experience just some funky dreams, or maybe some release of tension and anxiety through dreams. That's kind of how I'm imagining that's going to manifest. But leading up to that point, still tomorrow, as we get into the daytime, from like, let's say 9, 10 o'clock on, then the conjunction is kind of wearing off. And some other interesting things that we're still seeing, you know, Venus has still been moving very quickly with the sun. We're going to lose that conjunction here pretty soon, and the sun is going to start to kind of separate a little bit from Venus. We'll get a little bit of it more when it dips into Taurus. And then finally, the moon is going to move into Aries on the 10th. So that's when we get into new moon vibes. So what do you guys need to know? Okay, so we're gonna kind of take a step back and talk still about what new moons do. New moons are new intentions, new opportunities. So the days leading up to the new moon, right? Especially like tomorrow, for example, that dark moon is a really great time for banishing, for releasing, for purging. Not in a sense of full moons where we have completions. I like using a dark moon or the day before the new moon as an opportunity to just completely purge and start new. In the sign of Pisces, it can be letting go of fear, letting go of our need to separate or isolate ourselves. It can be releasing fear that has to do with anything that's like setting us back, especially if it's bad habits that are a result of us not taking initiative. Because I think the big difference between Pisces and Aries is that, you know, Pisces can be that self kind of undoing energy, especially when it's kind of rubbing up with Neptune. So if you want to let go of any bad habits, if you want to banish something out, I highly recommend all the way up until the 11th. So we're talking like tonight, tomorrow, working with water, taking clearing baths, purging, you know, really doing like a lighter diet, even like more of a liquid diet. Or if you want to take a gemstone charged bath, or maybe you want to drink your gemstone charged water, you can do all of that stuff for the next 2 days. Really good time to do that. Especially once the moon moves into Aries, we're already moving into the new moon energy. And Aries is the self, right? We talked a lot about this in last week's stream about the sun in Aries and how it's really shining a light on what we need. So coming off of the last 2 weeks with that full moon that we had in Libra, now we are so much more conscious and aware because the sun has collided with Chiron, Mercury has been following, Venus has been following. At this point in time, at the time of the 11th, we all should have a better understanding of what it is that we need to do on a personal level and what intentions we are setting for our own personal lives, what we need. Granted, this is going to fall in a different area of your chart for each person. So as we get later into the stream, I'll talk about how this is going to affect each and every one of the 12 signs. So let's go ahead and hop on over and let's take a look at what is going on. And I'm going to do some doodling today. Here we go. And get into what I see coming for the new moon in Aries. So it will be happening at 22 degrees of Aries. The new moon's gonna land at 7:31 p.m. Sorry, you guys got a little bit of sneak peek of my best friend's niece there. She's a cutie. It's going to be landing at 22 degrees of Aries, and it will be at 7:31 p.m. and that will be Pacific time. So that would be 10:31 Eastern Standard Time. Obviously, you want to check your watches and your clocks and adjust your time accordingly, depending on where you are in the world. So when we look at this, right? Whenever we analyze a lunar chart, and this is really what I've been kind of teaching through my streams is how I go about analyzing lunar charts, we want to look at, okay, what sign is the moon in? The moon is going to be in the sign of Aries. Aries is ruled by Mars. So first thing I'm going to look at is where in this chart is Mars? Well, guys, Mars has been moving and following through. Let's do this. Sorry, this is a new thing that I'm doing, trying to draw on this stuff. There we go. There we go, markup. So Mars has been moving through Gemini, right, for the past several weeks. And Mars in Gemini is putting such an emphasis and a focus on swift movement, quick communication, contracts, travel, where we're going, how we're communicating, talking. Feeling like we're in a little bit of like a rush, maybe. So Mars at 23 degrees is going to have more of an Aquarian vibe. 23 degrees can be a little chaotic. It can be a little unexpected. It can be a little bit confrontational because Aquarius is rebellious, right? So when I think of like Gemini at a 23 degree, I can think of a lot of broken contracts, people having some quarrels, people standing up for what they think, Gemini, and really speaking their mind. So I am not somebody who's encouraging confrontation, but I also believe that there's a lot of power behind this moon that's about standing up and really kind of owning and walking the walk and talking the talk, literally Mars and Gemini. I also think that there can be quite a few positive aspects just looking at the chart between the aspects with Mars. So if we look at this over here, Mars is making a trine to Jupiter in Aquarius. Now we know that Jupiter is going to expand anything that it touches, right? And Jupiter happens to be at 25 degrees at the time of this new moon. That is an Aries degree. So there is some expansion that's really happening at a personal level that's going to affect the collective. And trines are yummy, harmonious energies that just magnify, especially when it's in Jupiter, and make things happen. So there is a need to share ideas collectively with Mars and Gemini. There is a need to expand our own knowledge. I feel like Jupiter at 25 degrees of Aries is really kind of getting the ball rolling, and you're going to see a lot of people who are more anxious to travel, to go places, to get in the car, to get in the planes, and just be out and about. And now that Jupiter is slowly separating from Saturn, I believe that probably the next couple of months, we're going to see a real uptick in travel. We're going to see a lot of people who are really adamant about wanting to travel. We're going to see a lot of people who are also going to be really adamant about their freedom, right? So Jupiter in Aquarius wants freedom. It wants that ability to go places and do things. With that trine to Mars, especially as Mars continues moving forward to around 25 degrees to create an exact trine, watch out. There is definitely going to be a lot of people who I really feel like are going to be unwilling to give up their freedom. So the next aspect that we're looking at here is going to be Mars square Neptune. So this Mars creating this hard square here to Neptune. What can we say about that? Neptune at 21 degrees. A lot of people who are going to have difference of opinion, especially on their philosophies, especially on whether or not we should be traveling, whether or not it's safe to be traveling. Sagittarius also deals with law. So what I'm guessing is that what's coming very soon is that there is going to be a lot more laws, regulations, things that we're hearing, things that we're finding out about in terms of where we can and cannot go, especially considering the fact that Neptune rules viruses. Gemini deals with documents. So some kind of like a hot topic that's going on right now is kind of what's going on, at least in the United States. Some states are opting and choosing to basically not participate or have anything to do with these potential vaccine passports. So what I'm guessing is that you're just going to see some really strong opinions about that. I would be cautious about any information that comes out, especially within the media at the time of this new moon, and even for the next cycle, really until we get until July and we're out of some of these squares with Neptune and planets that are in Gemini. But not a lot of these laws are going to be clear. Not a lot of people are going to be sure if they're going to actually work out, if we are going to have to follow suit with having some kind of passport or identification as a result of the virus. That's just me reading the astrology, guys. I'm not going to get involved in the politics of it. I'm not going to get into my opinion. I'm just letting you know that this is where things are going. Mars at 23 degrees also, I feel like, is going to bring up a lot in regards to politics. So I want you to pay attention for that, because we are coming into what is going to be eclipse season next month. We're really going to start feeling the effects of the eclipse very soon. Usually we feel it several weeks to a month or so prior. So these eclipses are going to start at the end of May, and they're also going to be going on in June. Now, just looking at that, Mars at 23 degrees makes me wonder if Trump is going to try to make a comeback. I don't necessarily mean politically per se, but I do think that it's going to be a situation where, you know, we might see him come out with some new media. We might see him come out and want to discuss and talk about what he's putting out there, if he's got new content, if he's got a new space to communicate and to talk. That could be something else that could happen. So look for that as well. Sorry, I'm trying to pull up my markup here. So then we have Mars that is forming a sextile, all right, with the Sun, Moon, and Venus in Aries. Beautiful aspect. We've kind of seen this happening the last couple of days as the planets in Aries have been making sextiles to Mars, actually, as they've been moving along. So a sextile is a positive energy that's going on between these two. So really anything between about, let's say, 20 and 25 degrees of Gemini and Aries is going to get triggered. Sextiles are lazy energies. They're positive as long as you do the work, you reap the benefits of the sextile. So all of the energy, the Sun, the Moon, Venus, being about the self-love, self-awareness, self-devotion, self-goals, are all funneling energy into Mars, which happens to be the ruling planet for Aries. So what does it mean? This is a very potent new moon to set personal intentions, and we'll talk about how it's going to affect all the signs in just a minute. But I want you guys to really hear me when I tell you, I've looked at some of the moons that are going to take place all year. I think this is one of the better ones, especially when it comes to setting intentions, making commitments to yourself. Aries is all about getting going, right? It's a cardinal sign. And Aries is the first sign of the zodiac, which means it just wants to go somewhere. It wants to make something happen. Right now, we're not having eclipses. We're not having a retrograde yet. We're going to have Pluto retrograde later in the month. But for the most part, the planets are moving forward and they support our forward motion. So I want you to use this as an opportunity to really get real about uniting, your conscious self, the Sun, your unconscious emotions, the Moon, and what you love and value, because Venus is in the mix. So as they're making these aspects to each other, all you really have to do at the time of the new moon is just get moving. Whether that's committing to a new, physical lifestyle change, whether that's committing to starting work on a program, whether you want to start working on a new business, you want to start writing your book, whatever you start now, in theory, will be better supported in June and will even be better supported, and it will be coming to some major conclusion at the end of this year when we come to the full moon that we'll have in Aries. And that's going to be in the fall of 2021. I'm not sure if it's going to be the end of October or sometime in early November. But when you work with a new moon, we set those intentions, we work with them consciously, at least for the next 30 days, right? Or for the next lunar cycle until we come to the next new moon. But it can take nearly 6 months for some of these things to manifest, and sometimes even more if you're working with an eclipse. This is not an eclipse though. So I want you guys to think about that. It's really great for making lists. It's really great for physical activity. It's really great for holding yourself accountable. Now here's what else that I kind of like about this moon. 22 degrees is a Capricorn degree. And when we think about Capricorn, this is something that's long-term goals. It relates to our career. It relates to our legacy. It can be a goal that we're setting in motion that in our mind, we're like, how are we ever going to achieve that? It's going to take forever to get there. It's such a big hill to climb. It's so steep, or it's just such a big project that I don't know how long it's going to take for this to manifest. Those are the manifestations that I want you guys actually to work with the most, because Capricorn is very sturdy, it is reliable, and it is hard working. So for this to be happening at 22 degrees, I feel like what we're setting in motion is something that perhaps we will start to really see come together the fall of this year. and maybe even more so when we see Jupiter go into Aries over the next 18 months, and maybe even more so eventually when the North Node comes into Aries in about 2.5, 3 years. So think long term when it comes to your goals, guys. This is going to be the best way to kind of work with this energy. One other thing that I noticed about what's going on with some of the angles with some of the planets, just looking at Mars, that Mars will create what we call a quincunx, or an inconjunct to Pluto. So we don't talk about this angle too often. Basically, the quincunx, or the inconjunct angle, is they're rubbing each other the wrong way. It's kind of the middle point between an opposition and a trine. So it's not quite the free-flowing energy of a trine, and it's certainly not the stress and the tension of the opposition. So my interpretation and how I've seen it especially play out in my own life, because I have some of these inconjuncts in my own chart, is the more that you're doing one planet or one sign, the more it brings out the qualities of the other one. So I want you to imagine for a moment, you throw a Gemini and you throw a Capricorn in a room and you just let them hash something out and talk about something, right? The Capricorn's gonna be like, well, you did this and you did that and this was the plan and you didn't follow the plan. And the Gemini is gonna talk in circles around the Capricorn and basically play both sides against the middle and discuss a little bit about the pros and cons, and probably even play devil's advocate in terms of how something can be looked at, right? So when we see a quincunx, they rub each other the wrong way. So when Mars is making this funky angle to Pluto, there are certainly two sides to the story. There are certainly two paths forward. There is certainly some uncomfortable, transformative action or communication that we must deal with. And I do feel like it's more about acknowledging it. It may not really come up in a sense of actual action that we have to take until June, when the sun moves into Gemini. But this is my heads up for you guys. This energy is going to be quite intense because some of the other aspects just outside of Mars, they're a lot. So let's go ahead and see what is going on with the rest of these angles. Give me just a second. All right. So for the new moon in Aries, one other angle that I'm looking at that I'm not too crazy about is definitely going to be, let me look at my notes here. So the sun and the moon sextile, we went through that. Also the sun and the moon will also sextile Jupiter. So in a way, it's like wish fulfillment, setting intentions, setting goals, very, very potent, very powerful. We've got Venus in a sextile to Mars, which we talked about. We've also got Venus in a square to Pluto. So that was the big one that I was looking at. What can we say about Venus square Pluto? Venus is love, money, relationships. It is about being able to commit and value somebody or something. When we see Venus, the god or goddess of relations, in an uncomfortable, stressful angle, and this is exact, it's at 26, to Pluto, it's going to bring something up in our lives where we have to evaluate and ask ourselves if we're committing to these goals, if we're committing to these financial decisions, if we're committing to these relationships, is it going to require some sort of change, right? Especially on a foundational level. Taurus, 26. So when it comes to conversations about money in the bank account, paying off debt, whether or not you have enough money to handle something, whether or not you're willing to take that job at a lower wage, a bit of advice for you guys, because Pluto will go retrograde pretty soon and it will leave this 26th degree, and just knowing what I know about some of the transits that are coming this summer, this is the first stop where you are going to have to check yourself and ask yourself if what you value is in alignment. Is there a power struggle? Is there some aspect of obsession or overfixation, or somebody who is trying to dominate or even control you? So stay tuned, because I'm going to get into for each sign where this domination and control thing is kind of playing out. So I'll give you guys that information in just a minute. Venus in Aries, square Pluto in Capricorn. We've got Mars in Gemini, trine Aquarius, Jupiter in Aquarius. So that's about movement, getting moving and shaking. And then Saturn in Aquarius is still in a square with Uranus and Taurus. So this is nothing new. We've talked about this a bit. Certainly the next big square is going to be coming in June, but we still have that aspect of the uncomfortableness of one planet wanting change and wanting rebellion and wanting us to evolve, and another planet saying, nope, we're going to stay exactly where we are. More of that change is going to be coming in June as a result of the eclipses and the retrograde and that second square. What I'm referencing is the second of 3 Saturn-Uranus squares taking place in 2021. If you need a reminder, go and take a look at what was happening in mid-February of 2021, because you might see a reoccurring pattern. All right. So that's most of the aspects that we have going on for the moon. I think one other one that's worthy of mentioning is definitely going to be Chiron in Aries, trine to the South Node in Sagittarius. And it will also be making a sextile to the North Node in Gemini. So what is that going to help us do? It's going to help us heal. It's going to help us communicate and be able to connect with like-minded people. It can be a wonderful time to sit down and have a conversation from the heart. It can be a wonderful time to write a letter and ask for forgiveness, or maybe even give an apology. It can be a wonderful time to hash things out and clear the air even, and be able to kind of communicate in a more effective way. This is going to last for a couple days, actually, because you know, Mercury in Aries is going to continue to make a sextile to Mars before Mars leaves that sign. So if you have found yourself in a situation where you feel like you need to hash something out and have a conversation and maybe even talk to somebody and give or receive an apology, may not be a bad time to do that just shortly after the new moon. Now, a little bit of advice also, because shortly after this new moon, in the days ahead, we start seeing then the Sun and Mercury also follow in suit with a square that's going to take place with Pluto. So while this is a little bit kind of getting ahead, I'll just give you guys these dates and give you the heads up, because I think you're going to need some help with it. But these squares are going to start getting intense right around the time the Sun is coming to about 24 degrees. I work with a 2-degree orb. So around the 13th, the Sun comes into a square with Pluto. Then we see the exact Sun-Pluto square, power struggles, ego struggles on the 15th. And then Mercury is following in suit and coming into a square also with Pluto, and that'll happen over like the 16th and the 17th. Now, I think the final act is definitely going to be when the moon opposes Pluto, and that's closing something up. So those of you who do not take initiative on the time of the new moon in Aries, I'm guessing that the days following are still just going to push and hold you accountable for really committing to whatever it is that you decided you wanted to work on, anything you decided you wanted to change. Just a word to the wise. Themes for this new moon are opportunity, possibilities, new opening of doors, alertness, and dealing with your desire. All right, so this is a new moon that's going to help us get on track. You guys know that I'm a big fan of the Sabian symbols, and I was looking at the Sabian symbols for this one. So similar to what I talked to you guys about last month, because it's very rare that we see a new moon or a full moon that's exactly a degree. This one is 22 degrees and change. So we will read 23 degrees of the Sabian symbols. So for 23 degrees of the Sabian symbols, the theme is a woman in pastel colors carrying a heavy but valuable veiled load. The theme is behind the scenes. So the symbol speaks to privacy and the unreliability of superficial appearances. The image of a woman in pastel carrying a heavy and valuable but veiled load presents the contrast between the light and gentle appearance of a woman and the heavy but disguised burden she carries. The implication is that the load she carries is an important obligation, and despite the weight, she is committed and not willing to give up or share it. On a practical level, this cautions against judging by appearances. It also implies that the truth of the matter may be hidden, or that some important secret is being kept private. So at its highest, the symbol represents integrity, discreetness, and the willingness to accept responsibility. You want to watch out for hidden agendas or deception. So stepping stones are words like you know, shyness, privacy, secrets, camouflage, being discreet, being confidential. But I see it more in the sign of Aries as like hidden strength. So if you have any personal planets on or around 22 degrees of Aries, give or take about a degree, not much more than that, this is an important time to pay attention. So the planet and the house that it lands in is very significant because it's giving you a restart. A word to the wise, I would keep whatever your intentions are to yourself. I would keep them private because many of these things are not really going to start becoming more visible until 6 months from now. And even some of those goals are bigger goals that will not manifest until Jupiter goes into Aries or the North Node goes into Aries. So this is a sequence of things that are going to unfold really over the next 3 years. So just keep that in mind. So how is this going to affect you guys? I'm sure that's what you really want to know. I see everybody in the chat. Thank you guys for staying with me. Let's talk about how it's going to affect each and every one of the 12 signs. So starting with Aries, a lot of what I said pertains to you because this is an Aries new moon. When you're dealing with a new moon in your first house, something that you really want to pay attention to is your body. How does your body feel? How do you look? How do you feel about the way that you look? Do you have new intentions revolving around how you start your day? Do you have new intentions that are specifically just for you personally? That's really what I want you to think about. And where there is friction is where this new moon and Venus, all that self-love, how you're feeling, how you're looking, is at odds with Pluto in your 10th house. So it can be kind of like this friction with finding time to really create that morning routine for yourself, finding it challenging to have time to get up in the morning and do your workout or do your spiritual work or have your own personal time before you're just kind of like hit all over the place with responsibilities at work and having to be on time somewhere or having to take care of a parent or having to take care of a family member. So you really benefit by communicating and expressing, whether this is to people who you live with or people who you work with, just communicating what you need more effectively. Really work with that Mars energy in your third. Speak your truth, come out and talk about it, set up a routine, be really clear about your schedule and get the point across. So that way you feel like you have the time to do everything you want to do. Especially like I'm seeing a lot of Aries and a lot of Aries risings who are really wanting to commit to a new program, or maybe they're making time to learn something, or maybe they really feel like they need some adventure in their life and they don't know how to get out from underneath the burden of having to be at work all of the time. So it's really important to start communicating that and expressing that, because I feel like Venus in your first house is so important. And it can definitely bring up a lot of stuff in regards to relationships and needing to have boundaries in relationships, okay? So for Aries, let's see what the cards have to say in terms of what may manifest for you. Those of you guys who aren't aware also, I started doing my monthly videos on YouTube for tarot readings. So those are up for the month of April. There are full in-depth tarot readings for each and every one of the 12 signs. So if you're somebody who really wants an in-depth look at what I see for the month ahead, be sure to like and subscribe. Go and take a look at those videos. They are going to go out monthly. All right. So 7 of Wands, definitely a time for you to be on top of things. Definitely a time for you to find that balance between being aggressive and argumentative and a little too forward to just standing your ground and not accepting anything less than what you deserve. I see the 7 of Wands is coming out on top. So just be aware that as long as you're able to communicate and move efficiently, I think you're going to get exactly what you want. For Taurus, this is a new moon that is taking place in your 12th house. So a lot of 12th house new moons can feel very sensitive. You could need more private time. It could be a situation where you need more rest, you need more sleep, more recuperation. You might want to hide away a little bit in your private space. If you're feeling that way, Taurus, it's totally fine. You know, the 12th house also deals with your spiritual energies. So it's almost like this is your renewal period. You're coming into your birthday, and this is a great time to just mentally detox and just rest up. Because this is in friction with Pluto in the 9th house, to me, it almost seems like you need more rest before you go on a trip or before you go on vacation. You might be a little bit at odds, and there might be a little bit of a back and forth about your spiritual beliefs. Something is going on in terms of your spiritual beliefs, and you're having a bit of a question when it comes to your spiritual beliefs, and you're waiting to really utilize that Mars in your 2nd house about making money. See, right now you're thinking about making money, you're coming up with ideas to make money, you're not seeing that money manifest yet, you're waiting for it to manifest. A lot of the ideas that you have for your finances, Taurus, are still like in the ethers, right? So there is some aspect of you needing to rest, not worry, focus more on what you're manifesting, focus more on your meditation, and start letting go anxiety that you have that it all falls on you, or that it's all only up to you, or that you are alone. That is where you're going to have challenges. This brings up not necessarily a crisis, but definitely a turning point for you where you start to kind of really think like, okay, well, maybe everything does happen for a reason. And, you know, maybe I need to make a shift, or maybe I need to make a segue, or maybe I need to be learning something new. The universe is pushing you to start paying attention to not so much your intuition, but your beliefs. You must believe. It's very important this month for you to believe. 10 of Cups. So everything's going to work out. It's going to be fine. This is complete happiness. Maybe some of you are having some anxiety about, well, I know it's all going to work out, but I just don't see it coming together yet, or I don't know how it's going to manifest yet. Just stay positive and stay with it. For Gemini, this is going to be a new moon that is in your 11th house. So this is about friendships. This is about communicating with friends, groups, starting groups, networking. This is a very powerful new moon for setting intentions that relate to wishes and being able to have wishes granted. It is squaring off with Pluto in your 8th house. So what this basically means is you are facing some situation where you're having a total change and a transformation when it comes to, I think, your goals. And I think you realize that this requires you to make some financial changes. This requires you to start dealing with some of the skeletons in your closet psychologically. You may be coming out of a situation where you're having a bit of a squabble with a friend, or maybe you're losing a friendship, or you feel like a friend has checked out on you and you're like, what's going on? Like, are we still cool anymore? Take it easy. Mars is still in your 1st house. And where I think things really benefit you is like with Mars in your 1st house, making positive aspects to your 11th, you have the opportunity to really kind of smooth that over, take action, communicate in a very efficient way, and get down to the bottom of the matter. Rather than being aggressive, you have the opportunity to communicate with them and be like, hey, what's going on? I've missed you. What's up? What's the deal? King of Swords, Gemini. So really mastering your ability to communicate and get that point across. And I also feel like it can be some friends that are having major financial crisis. They're having major relationship crises. And you're like, okay, so you're going through some stuff, but like, I haven't heard from you. Try to just slow your roll and be open to talking to them and being able to get to the bottom of the matter, because I feel like there's a lot of healing that is possible as a result of this new moon. Okay. For Cancer, this is a new moon in your 10th house. It's all about new opportunities in your career. It is squaring off with Pluto in your 7th. So I feel like there's definitely some squabbles brewing about you getting on the same page with a partner when it comes to your career. And that can be a little bit harder to deal with, especially Cancers that are very much in the public eye, or Cancers that have just a lot going on at work right now. It's almost like there's so much activity, and you don't want to waste a new moon in your 10th house, because you're setting the stage for what you want in regards to your career really for the rest of the year. So even if you've got a partner that's really pushing your buttons, wow, did you guys see that? That just jumped out. These two cards jumped out, the Lover's card and the Money. So, I mean, what else is there other than Venus, square Pluto? It can be money stuff. It can be like one partner wants to quit their job and the other one's like, man, I'm just getting my projects up and running. Like, I'm sorry you're having a hard time with work right now, but we both have to stay employed. There's going to be some kind of power struggle over money and values and and whether or not you're on the same page. This is saying that money is coming. Money is coming in June and July. And I know that that's the case because Mars is going into Cancer, and then all of the planets are going to follow shortly after. And Mars and Venus will move through your second house of money this summer. So money's coming, but you want to avoid all of these traps and all of these things where like you feel like you're trapped in a relationship because of money, or you feel like you're stuck working where you're working because of money. Venus square Pluto does not screw around. If your heart is not in it, whether it's a relationship or a job or a financial situation, like things are only going to continue to kind of spiral out of control later this summer. So my advice to you is really align your values. And if it means that you need to be doing something and more so in alignment with something that you love, a partner needs to hear that, and they need to understand they can't control you, or a boss can't control you. All right. One other thing about that, Cancer, is that Mars is in your 12th house. So you might be feeling repressed anger. You might be feeling resentful. You may be feeling like you don't know how to express yourself. There's a bunch of things you want to say, but you don't know how to say it. Just take it easy. It can be really good for you to dance, listen to percussion. It can be really great for you to do some meditation, or like listening to drums, or even like some shamanic drumming, and anything like that, just to kind of dance, get it out of your system. So that way there is an outlet for all of that energy. And watch for gossip. Don't be talking behind people's back. Okay. All right. So for Leo, this is a new moon taking place in your 9th house, and it is squaring with Pluto in the 6th. So for me, a 9th house new moon is about seeing the bigger picture, being able to set intentions that deal with travel, being able to focus on making time for travel. It's kind of a mixed bag. I mean, the cards that just jumped out were the 9 of Cups and the 8 of Cups, okay? So that tells me like you really want to go somewhere, you really want to do something. There may be some current concerns about whether or not you're going to be able to maintain that trip or those plans. Just intuitively, I feel like be really cautious. If you absolutely have to set travel plans in motion, do consider travel insurance. It might be worth paying the extra bit of money just to ensure that, God forbid, touch wood, you aren't able to travel, or travel plans kind of get screwed up. You have an option and you have a way out. Now, it's not abnormal when you have a new moon in your 9th house to set intentions for a long distance trip, or start wanting to learn more about something, or perhaps focusing on the bigger picture. And when it's in Aries, it's the bigger picture for you, what you want to study, where you want to go, what you want to do, what you believe in. And when it's in a square to your 6th house, it's like you're learning how to work spirituality into your daily routine. You're learning to kind of break down all of those compounds that really keep you from being able to have the schedule that you want. Many of you are going to be learning more about power struggles in the workplace, especially those of you who either work in law, or those of you who are dealing with a lawsuit. So one of those two things can manifest. You do want to watch out for conflicts revolving around travel and taking care of pets, or traveling and then having coworkers being like, you can't take that week off. I'm taking that week off. And then there's a power struggle because you've just booked a vacation for a time that you can't get time off. Okay, be careful. In the end, it'll work out. I think it'll be fine. I also know that Mars in your 11th house is very social. You have friends that are really kind of putting the pressure on you to go out, travel, go places, do things. And there's going to be plenty of time for you really to do that all summer long. All right, so now moving on to Virgo. This is a new moon taking place in your 8th house. It is in a square to Pluto in your 5th. This tells me that many Virgos are needing to become aware of any sexual healing that they need to do. Many Virgos need to be aware of any previous old relationship pains or haunts that they need to clear out, so they can really work with that square to Pluto in their 5th house and open themselves up to love, right? Or open themselves up to a new partner. You want to watch out though for like obsessive tendencies or obsessive qualities, especially when you're really fixated on trying to find somebody, or really fixated on trying to find a romantic partner. That's where the Pluto-Venus square can get you into some trouble, and you can find that you're either getting your heart broken or you're being a bit of a heartbreaker yourself. What I think is working for you is that you do have Mars going through your 10th house. So you're feeling more determined, you're feeling more assertive, you're feeling more self-assured, and you really want to take charge. So that's cool. I like that, but don't be too aggressive. I would also advise you to just maybe try to keep like the romantic stuff out of the workplace, because I could see where there's just like a lot of sexual energy brewing in the 8th house, building into the 9th house. And eventually you're going to see some uncomfortable angles that are going to happen between your 11th and your 5th house. So I don't recommend going too deep into the are we friends or are we something more zone, right? You want to be careful with that, because you could start like a sexual relationship, or there can be like a lot of chemistry in a relationship that ultimately can fizzle out. Those of you guys who are partnered, and if you are working with your lover or working with your partner, things can get a little intense, especially when it comes to handling the financial side of things. So be aware of that. So what do we need to know for Virgo? Knight of Cups. That's a great card. So that's about you being able to just lead with your heart, right? So I see the heart being the 5th house, kind of like the sexual energy being the 8th house. So I think maybe the Pluto square to the planets in your 8th house is trying to break down the ego, and it's saying like it's not about the physicality, it's more about connecting on a heart-centered space. This can be that you offer somebody something romantically, or you ask them out on a date, or you tell them how you feel, or vice versa. It can be somebody coming to you and telling you how they feel. Slow it down, make it more about the actual emotional connection and not the physical connection. That's just my advice this month. For Libra and Libra risings or suns, hello cards jumping out. Queen of Pentacles, not a bad card to be pulling, Libra. So for you, this is a new moon that is taking place in your 7th house. So it's a little inverted, right? Like Libra, it's always backwards for you. So a new moon in your 7th house is about new opportunities for relationships and really focusing on people who support you and people who want to champion you and partner with you. So it's a new opportunity to set new intentions revolving around relationships or marriage. Now, this is at odds with Pluto in your 4th house. So this can be a little bit more uncomfortable because you are dealing with some of the angular houses with these squares. So you've seen this happening all month. There's something that's at odds with your partner and something going on with your home. Many of you guys, it's like, okay, are you outgrowing your living space? Are you at odds with your partner about whether or not you want to commit more seriously and move in together, whether or not you want to get married, whether or not you buy a house, whether or not your house is fine the way it is? There's a lot of that stuff coming up for you. And Pluto in the 4th house wants you to totally transform your home and your family. So what's going on with Venus in your 7th is basically like, I think a relationship or a partner is offering you a new opportunity when it comes to relating that's very different than your experience growing up, or very different than how you have experienced relationships in the past. So there's a lot of having to kind of cut through that and focusing more on just finding somebody who aligns with what you need. What's working for you is Mars in the 9th house in positive aspect to your 7th. So it's a lot of talking about, okay, where are we going? Whether it's planning a trip or planning into the future and talking about where you see the relationship going in the future. And you'll see more of that unfold in June and then at the end of this year. For the Queen of Coins to be coming up for you, it's very interesting because I see that as long-term planning, long-term goals, especially because the Queen of Coins can be somebody who's thinking about, 5, 6, 7, 8 years down the road. It does talk a lot about you being super stable and super committed to whatever relationship stuff is taking place and feeling really solid and good in your relationships. So those of you guys who come out the other side of this in mid-April and your relationship is stronger, good for you. For Scorpio and Scorpio rising, so this is the new moon's happening in your 6th house. And the 6th house is about pets, daily routines, where you're working. It can be about your coworkers, but generally in Aries, it's your commitment to your health and your routines. So this is a great new moon to set intentions revolving around health, wellness, diets. It can be about the health of pets. It can be about how you're committing to keeping your workspace a little bit more better organized. Whatever it is that you're wanting to do, set those intentions to do it, and definitely start the day after the new moon. Where there is some friction for you, Scorpio, is that you have Pluto in the 3rd house. So I think it's about also integrating new knowledge and new information when it comes to doing something new health-wise. Maybe you need to download an app. Maybe you need to talk to a friend. Maybe you need to join an online program. Maybe you just need to communicate better so that way you're able to make more time for the things that you want to do health-wise and in terms of your routine, or schedule changes. Where there's some uncomfortable stuff going on, I think also can be the health of siblings. Siblings can be going through some health issues, or you can be experiencing some challenges with pets. And with Mars in your 8th house, Scorpio, a lot of what I see is just a lot of like really deep psychological changes and challenges. Some of you guys might be needing surgery in the weeks or months ahead. Some of you guys may still be recovering from surgery. I've seen a lot of Scorpio placements that have had this recently. Okay, so what does Scorpio need to know for the month ahead? Wow, 10 of coins. So all in all, this is about bringing you better health. This is about making more wealth. This is about planning for the long term. And in the end, like, you know, in order for you to be wealthy, you need to be healthy. So you really want to focus on long-term goals with your health so that way you can show up in the world the way that you want to show up. For Sag and Sagittarius rising, this new moon is taking place in your 5th house of love, romance, children, and creative projects. Where there is some funky energy is that it is squaring off with your 2nd house Pluto transit. So what does this mean? There is a bit of a back and forth going on that deals with your hobbies and how you're going to fuel or fund your hobbies with Pluto from the 5th. There needs to be this, I think, kind of like opening that happens where you start to really realize your true personal power, and that your power comes from your own talents, your creativity, what you build, what you create, what you share with the world. And maybe you're not making money in your hobby yet, but this is the time, especially those of you Sagittarians who work for yourselves, if you want to expand your business, if you want to have a kid, this is the time to set intentions revolving around that, because it's only going to build to the end of this year. And what's interesting is that the Chariot card jumped out. So it's letting you know, hey, got to get moving. We got to get things going. Like, there is no more waiting. It's go time, especially between now and Cancer season. There is a need to just really get your ducks in a row and move forward. You do have Mars in your 7th house right now, so you can be feeling like you're getting it from all angles from other people, and other people want to partner with you, or other people want to date you, or other people are trying to take you out to dinner, or they're trying to marry you. Whatever the deal is, if you're trying to get from point A to point B, really open your eyes the next couple of months, because people are going to show up and they're going to be a part of your destiny, and they are going to help push you forward. Really, really great for Sagittarians. For Capricorn and Cap risings, so this new moon's going to take place in your 4th house, and this is going to be a new opportunity to set emotional intentions, family intentions, home intentions, especially if you're looking for a new place to live, especially if you want your own place, especially if you want to buy your own place, rent your own place, or move out on your own. Where there is friction is Pluto in your 1st house. So Pluto's been there for a while. It's nothing new, but it can be a little intense when it squares off with this moon. And you may find, especially if you live with other people, it's almost like your energy is so intense because it's just so clear that you need more time alone. Whether that means that you need to move and you're like really kind of dealing with some disgruntled roommates, or this is a situation where you just really need some private time and like you can't be all around your family 24/7. It can be a little intense with that square. Mars is also in your 6th house, so I kind of love the new moon in your 4th and Mars in your 6th, because it means like you can clear out your emotions and get healthier. 6th house. It means you can actually find a new place, and you have the energy with Mars in your 6th to go through, organize everything, purge, and move into a new place, or rearrange furniture in a current place. It's actually really nice. And you'll have another opportunity to do more of this also in June because of the retrograde that will be there. But my advice is don't come off a little too intense. If you need some space from people, just tell them what's up. Traditionally, a new moon in the 4th house, you want to be home. So if you can't get alone time in your home, communicate and say, hey, you know what, I'm feeling a little restless. Or it can also be a good idea to just find a personal space within your home and take a little time to kind of do your own thing. 5 of Wands. So it is talking about this combative energy. It's almost like people might be coming at you, really pushing your buttons to show you where there are emotions you're not dealing with. There are things you're not acknowledging. There's conversations you're not having. Okay. So the 5 of Wands isn't a terrible card, but it's definitely a card that's kind of saying, like, if conflict arises, which it will, okay, there is a need for you just to acknowledge it and learn not to be reactionary. You want to be an actor, not a reactor, Capricorn. All right. So for Aquarius, we have a new moon happening in your 3rd house, and this will be in friction or a square to Pluto in the 12th. What can I say? Mind over matter with this new moon, Aquarius, because when you have, you know, a new moon in the 3rd, it's new opportunities for contracts, communications. When it's in friction to a planet in your 12th house, I think really what it's saying is that you're kind of in a situation where you need to let go of fear. It's like there's a need to listen to your intuition, but there's an even bigger need for you to let go of power struggles, not be manifesting fear, not being allowing your nightmares to take over, not be jumping to worst case scenario, and really pay attention to your anxiety. Now, what is working for you is that you do have a new moon in the 3rd of contracts, negotiations, short distance travel, education in positive aspect to your 5th house. So this tells me that journaling, writing, picking up the phone, being creative and having a constructive, you know, creative conversation can be helpful. Painting and doing anything that's more 5th house can also be an outlet for some of this anxiety. I do feel like there can be some anxiety revolving around children because Mars is in the 5th house and it's making some positive angles to the 3rd and some uncomfortable angles to the 12th. So some of you guys might be concerned about where your kid's going to go to school, if you can get them into the school that you want them to get into and things like that. So watch out for that. Mind over matter. Try to keep it positive. Try to remind yourself as that fear comes up or as that anxiety comes up, not to be pessimistic and make assumptions. The Magician, master of your own reality, right? So be careful what you wish for, set intentions. You want to think about what positive things are coming because in a way things manifest in the 12th house, like within the ethers, and then we bring them down. So a lot of what's happening in the 12th house is stuff that you know you need to clear out, stuff you know you need to remove. And it's important that you actually consciously work with that instead of manifesting it and having it come up. So you have to work through it, right? All right. So last but not least, for Pisces and Pisces rising, for you guys, this is a new moon in your 2nd house, money, abundance, values, and it is squaring Pluto in the 11th house. So be cautious with lending and borrowing with friendships. Be cautious when it comes to sharing your ideas and your values and your beliefs, especially political ones, or there can be some like weird like comments that are being made online and some frictions with that because Pluto in the 11th can be like how your friends are changing and you're asking yourself like, do I value these friends anymore? Like, do they even value me? Like, do they care? Like, what do we bring to the table for each other? What is working for you is Mars in your 4th house, and it is making some positive aspects to that new moon. So if you are looking to invest in real estate, if you are looking to come up with money to put into your home, if you need new furniture, if you want even some support from your family financially, or maybe you're talking to your family about what you need to change around the house and then they want to chip in, that 2nd house and 4th house is working together beautifully. I think Mars in the 4th can create some squabbles within the home. So what you want to do is avoid conflict with family. But what you do want to be open to is just moving things around in the house and staying open-minded in terms of where you could or where you may be moving to in the future. All right, so keep that in mind. But but a great time for abundance and setting intentions for bringing money in, for doing any manifestation revolving around money. This is definitely, especially for long-term financial goals, this is really what you want to focus on for this new moon. Have fun. It might be a good time also to like go and talk to somebody and get some insight from someone who can help you really focus on your financial goals. Because I think maybe Pluto in your 11th is like, man, like, you know, I see a lot of my friends that are really struggling, and I see a lot of my friends who maybe haven't really been prepared, especially with what's gone on in the pandemic. It can be that you are not so sure if you want to take advice of online forums when it comes to investing. It can be that you just go and find a powerful person, Hierophant, who can give you insight. So this can be an accountant. This can be somebody who's a financial planner, or somebody who's into financial strategy, right? This is also a card that deals with Taurus. So it is kind of talking about long-term stable financial goals. All in all, I got to say, like, you guys have pulled some really great cards. I'm really excited to see what manifests as a result of this new moon, because I feel like it's probably one of the more powerful ones we're going to see outside of the eclipses that we're going to be having later this year. I hope that you guys enjoyed this and this was helpful for you. Like I said, if you want more of my tarot videos, go and check out and subscribe. You can see all of my tarot readings for the month of April, which are now live. I talk about the health, relationships, career, and financial aspects for each of the 12 signs, and then go deeper into a full cross spread for each and every one of you. I am doing these lives every week on the Astro weather of what's going on. Next week, I don't even know what we're going to talk about yet. Let's see what happens after this new moon, but I'll be back next week, and we'll probably talk about all of the planets that are moving into Taurus and how they are all going to collide with Uranus in Taurus and really shake up our values, our money, our love life, all of that stuff. So that'll probably be the next week's topic. So if you're wondering what is going to happen at the end of April, especially with that full moon that's coming in Scorpio in opposition to Uranus, check back with me next week. I will be here, and we will start to talk about and discuss where we are going to see changes in our values. If you like my reading and you want to book a personal reading with me, if you like this combination of tarot and astrology and intuitive reading, check out my website at beyondtheveiltarot.com, where you can go and take a look at my availability and my schedule. If you do want a reading, I recommend booking probably in advance. Right now I'm booking, I think, into June, so I'm usually booked out anywhere from 4 to 8 weeks at a time, especially because we are coming into eclipse season. So get ahead of the curve and go and check that out. Otherwise, I will be back next week, and I look forward to seeing all of you guys then. Everybody in the chat, thank you for tuning in. It was so awesome to see you. I appreciate all of the love that you give me every week. I love being able to come and nerd out with you on the astrology. Until next time, you guys all take care, and I'll see you very soon.